Film juice. Hey, critic boxers, criticers. We never have a name for your fans. Well, welcome everybody to Critic Box, where we have wonderful, rousing discussions on TV, film, Hollywood, movies, disagreements, directors, a lot of things, and we never come to one conclusion. Today, though, is going to be a special segment. We have two professional critics, not just amateurs over here, two pros to my left and right, who have actually written reviews and articles about the movie Alien Romulus, which is what we're going to be discussing today. And just a heads up, forewarning, if you haven't seen Alien Romulus yet and you want to see it, we're going to ruin it for you. If you have seen it or you're not going to see it anyways, stick around. We're not going to affect your life in any way. So let's just start off. We are featured with the David Lynch. Based out of San Antonio. He is a digital journalist and film critic for Ken's 5 and also Critics' Choice Association member. David Lynch, how are you doing?
What up? Hey, Jarrod. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here to talk acidic blood and snarling beasts and
That's just me.
Decidedly gory ways to die, and that's just you. That's just a start.
Yeah, right? Real hard-hitting question. Over your right shoulder, what is that cat's name?
That cat right there is that's Merlot. That's her.
Merlot.
We might have another one hopping up behind me right now, right behind me at some point over here.
Mm-hmm.
That one will be Amaretto if she pops in. So
Amaretto. I love your alcohol-based cats names. I'm 100% for it.
That's the vibe of this household.
That's the vibe of this episode. So, love you, Merlot. Okay. And to my left, I think that's how we have it. To my left, we have Ruben Peralta, former Critics' Choice Association member, Golden Globes journalist, all-around nice guy, based around Miami. He didn't tell me all of his credentials. How are you doing, Ruben?
I'm really excited. Like, I've been thinking about this is my first time doing like a formal debate, and I don't know, it's fun, and I like this debate of ideas and people that think the opposite of me.
Right?
Yeah, that's how we learn. Like, probably I missed something, or probably my ego is in the middle of something.
I mean, I'm hoping this is just going to turn into a very disappointing, cordial, nice discussion. Just really, we just all end up meeting in the middle. Understanding Story's point of view. Okay, so let's just set the foundation of this. We're talking Alien Romulus. This is number 9, I believe, in the franchise. 10? It was 9, right? Yeah, number 9 in the franchise. Mm-hmm.
If we're counting Alien versus Predator,
which I do. I want to count the AVPs because I'm a huge fan of the P. I love the Predator franchise.
Sure.
I'm all about it. And so whenever they did AVP, I mean, cut up a lot of it had to be a standalone thing because it was like, okay, so the Predators have been going to Antarctica for like years. It was a lot of things you had to like bend your brain into knots for, but I enjoyed it. It was 100% one, and it was faithful at least to, the genesis of how the aliens formed and how they use them with the queen and the eggs and all that fun stuff. Anyways, so Alien Romulus, set to take place between the original Alien movie and its following sequel, Aliens. It's within the 52 years, I believe, that was between that takes place chronologically between the two movies. Yeah. And it has been director Fede Alvarez and cinematography by Gallo Olivares. It is a lot of opinions can be said about this movie, but basically it tells the story of a young teenage girl, and her robot android friend get into some hijinks on this abandoned space shuttle, and shenanigans ensue, and everyone's better for it at the end of it. And so how do we begin this? How can we begin this discussion? Let's start off with plot, the direction, the story. How did y'all feel about the general plot of it? We can go into specifics later, but the general layout of girl, dire straits, nothing to lose, goes takes an opportunity, doing a little bit of something illegal to set herself up better. How did y'all feel about that? Starting with you, David.
Yeah, so well, coming into Alien Romulus, I think we knew based off the marketing, on what Mr. Alvarez was saying about what he wanted to do with the movie in collaboration with Ridley Scott. I think we knew this was going to be a back to gritty, bloody basics approach, right? And really, this is kind of Alien at its most basic, depending on how you think about the franchise. It's like you mentioned, a small posse feels like they have their destiny in their hands. They go somewhere they're unfamiliar with, preferably very dark, preferably very claustrophobic, as we like it. And then it turns out that fate has a very different acidic blooded path laid out for them, right? So you kind of can't really fault the story after, like we mentioned, 9 movies, if we're going to take the AVP movies into account, with going back to basics, partly because of what Fede Alvarez did with Evil Dead. So I think the foundation was there for him to really get into the sandbox, see what they could do as far as his maximalist aesthetic. For me personally, I do think that the first third, I loved how restrained it was, how close quarters it was, really going back to the one creature snarling, hunting you on your tail kind of path, with some new set pieces and ideas thrown in. And then
cat and mouse.
Exactly, the cat and mouse game, with the one very big cat going into some
huge angry cat.
Exactly. And then a little bit later on, when it starts to decide that it wants to thread its tendrils and kind of get into a little bit the different ideas and set pieces and concepts of the different movies coming after the Ridley Scott's original, that's when it started to lose me a little bit story-wise. But that's just me to start.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, Ruben, how'd you feel about the general plot, the general story, the basis of it?
For me, I truly love Fede Alvarez. This is the second time that this guy take a franchise and make his own version of franchise. And obviously, Fede, for some reason, he likes blood. He likes this.
He loves blood, doesn't
he loves blood.
He's a blood man.
He likes to show us how these people are going through this. And the only thing that I don't like about the movie, it's like he wanted so bad to imitate that first movie with Ridley Scott, that it feels like there's some sequences that I felt that he wanted to plagiarize kind of in some way. Also, the female lead character, we have another female lead character in this Alien, and even with the AVP movies, they all female lead characters. And for me, I truly like this movie, but it's like we're still squeezing now with using the Star Wars system that they're in between movies with things that happen or probably didn't matter, because I didn't know, it was never mentioned. Like, we have the correlation at the end of the movie of aliens, but in terms of plot, I think it's just a good excuse to tell another story. For me, it's about the atmosphere. It's what are you proposing to me as a spectator? What are you showing to me? And if I know the whole universe of aliens, for me, it's a fun movie to watch. I kind of forgot about the movie after I wrote about it, but it's not a movie that we're gonna watch for awards or looking something else more, like have like 2 hours of having fun. I think that we can ask for more. And like I say, Fede Alvarez loves to show us how suffering, how much pain these people are going through, and I kind of felt it when I feel something like that watching any movie. And I had the same feeling watching Evil Dead, because Evil Dead, the first trilogy, is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I love the third one. That's my favorite one.
Army of Darkness?
Yeah, I loved it.
Hell yeah. It's my boomstick.
When I saw it as a kid, I want to be like him. I want to be like Ash.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he gonna do the same thing here. He gonna create his own universe, but he want to emulate too much Ridley Scott styles, and this is kind of when he kind of get lost in the storytelling. But at the end, I think it's a fun movie to watch. It's basically for fans. I don't think there's anyone that has watched any of the movies before is gonna have the same fun as a person who watched Prometheus or Covenant or the other movies. That's the only thing that I have against it. It's not an independent story. It has to be attached to the other ones. But in terms of plot, I think it's a fun, short. I don't know. It's those kind of movies that you forget when you walk out of the movie. It doesn't have any base to have any argument, just to have fun.
Yeah.
In terms of a Fede Alvarez movie, we're talking. I mean, your Evil Dead 2012, your Don't Breathe 2. How does this stack up out of, let's just say, the top of our brain of the four Fede movies that we've seen? Ruben, how does this stack up to you?
What was the other one? Don't Breathe. Evil
Don't
Dead.
Breathe, Don't Breathe 2, Evil Dead.
Oh, he made
Romulus.
or two. Well, I'll say my favorite Evil Dead. I had so much fun watching his version of Evil Dead.
The buckets upon buckets of
Loved it.
blood.
Loved it, man. Loved it.
And
Loved it.
and all those buckets of blood, it kind of makes me wish that we had more buckets in this one. I mean, I don't mean to, I don't want to interrupt, but I think that I think the thing that kind of disappointed me most as far as the direction is that it felt like Fede, having his reputation carved out for him as far as this guy who can create original movies that make really smart use of space and geography, like we saw in Don't Breathe, and concepts, right, and kind of turn them on their heads and turn them into 90-minute, 100-minute long movies that are now a franchise now that he's made the sequel. But then going back to Evil Dead, I mean, that when I think of his iteration on Evil Dead, I think of a movie that's like uncompromising. And I was pretty sure that coming into this, I thought we would get an uncompromising, if back to basics, Alien movie. And I think the most disappointing thing for me is that as fun as some set pieces are, we didn't get that, and it felt like in effect it feels like it's the tamest movie of the franchise for me, unfortunately.
Well, can we say that? I mean, is that a Fede problem, or is that more a production problem forced on Fede? Like, I mean, because we could say in the movie there are shot-for-shot remakes from other ones in the franchise. There's line for lines from other movies in the franchise that I think we can all agree took us right out of the film. But is that Fede's choice, or was that the studios over his back saying, hey, put this in, the fans will love the nostalgia, put this in, the fan, like, and he didn't get a choice? Because this is, I mean, because if we're going to talk about Evil Dead, talking about the Don't Breathe, those were not like, those are movies where you could do whatever you want. Sam Raimi's probably like, hey man, go for it, have fun.
Right.
But I mean, did he, I mean, was Ridley Scott over, like, breathing down Fede's neck telling him on this? Like, was Fede kind of, a little strap when it came to the decisions he got to make versus that? I mean, do you think that could be an aspect to it?
I think it's both. I think it's that he would choose because his former movies is basically one location. Yeah. And most of these movies also happen in one location, and they needed a director with experience. Probably they can't make a movie because think about the budget. Think about it in terms of budget. They have to make a movie. Probably when you buy some rights, you have to make a movie every certain time.
Yeah.
Remember what happened with Spider-Man? You have to make a movie every 5 years, so you just lose.
Keep it fresh, renew it. Yeah.
Probably with Alien, it's the same thing. That's why they did the AVP. Probably they kept doing this kind of movies. And Ridley Scott, it's in too many projects, he couldn't direct this movie. So they needed a director. That probably it's one of the best creating something in one location. And Fede has proof in 3 movies, basically, that he can tell story. Probably not 2 hours long, probably only 80, 90 minutes. But he's one of the best directors in one location based on his results. Because Don't Breathe, the first one, it's for me super fun. I think it's a
in
movie.
One house.
Yes, everything is so claustrophobic. And his characters are like, you get to hate them because there's no good characters in Don't Breathe.
No,
exactly. And then in Evil Dead,
you're on the bad guy side, basically. Yeah, you're on the killer side.
What is Stephen Lang if not a xenomorph?
Yeah, but think about it.
Yeah, right?
That's his style. This is the first movie that he has someone that's a hero. Yeah. And she wanna, I don't know, survive. But the other people, they just want to fight against evil. She just want to survive. She just trying to survive. And in Don't Breathe, they're trying to escape, but someone is not letting them. But in terms of directing, I think they choose a director who has experience telling stories in one location. And Fede probably was the best choice. They always talk about, how Ridley Scott telling me stuff. I don't think Ridley Scott had time to text you some advices.
He's too busy writing Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
No, something. He's always doing something.
And of course,
always doing something.
Yeah, and of course, there's the person looking over Ridley and Alvarez, which is Disney, right? I mean, this is the first Alien movie since Disney acquired Fox. So, and
when Disney absolutely counts pennies, they're like, okay, no.
Yeah, so you know they're looking over every line of dialogue and scene, and thinking when they can potentially, if they had as much of a hand in it as we're hypothesizing, they might squeeze a reference in here and there. And this might be the most derogatory thing I'm going to say on the show, but maybe get us ready for the theme park ride. Is that maybe why this movie exists? I don't know.
Which, by the way, 100% would I play? Like go to a fun rec room or something and play a VR game where I'm on a space shuttle and I'm got to dodge face huggers and that. Hell yes, I would absolutely play that game.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about direction and approach here, right? I mean, to me, the Alien franchise is special because what Romulus proves is that the franchise can be and is something different for everyone, right? It can be scary, it can be over the top, it can be cerebral. I tend to lean more into lately loving the more cerebral side of things. I kind of had to check myself when I put Covenant at number 2 in my personal Alien rankings, but I did. And so so this is
okay, we'll get back to that. Go on.
More to this. So that's just to say, Romulus is going to be a very nice Alien franchise gateway for some 14, 15-year-olds who managed to sneak into the theater in the last couple weekends, right? For me, it just felt derivative, some elements notwithstanding, which we're going to get into later. And both times I've seen Romulus, I've wanted to immediately follow it up and chase it, for lack of a better word, with Alien or Aliens, and I have. So,
but can we? All right, so we know that Fede and oh my god, I keep forgetting the other guy's name that he helped write it with. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But okay, but Fede watched.
Sayagwes.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Rodo Sayagwes.
Yes. I'm sure we said it. I'm sure we pronounced it correctly. But it's like they saw a deleted scene from the Aliens movie, and it was basically kids on a tricycle, lives on a colony. This is what it was, and both of them had the idea of like, what would it be like to be on one of these Weyland-Yutani colonies, getting established, whatever. And that was the first 20, 30, 15 minutes of the film is the, let's be honest, shit life of living on a colony on one of these Weyland-Yutani planets.
Yeah.
And you get a backstory to that. You get a down and out. How did you feel about that, Ruben? Did that element add something new to the franchise enough to justify it?
Adding to something new, it's the little animals. Like we never seen so many, and until
like
this
pets
movie.
and livestock and
Because if we remember, we started seeing them like just one or two. I remember things from Prometheus that we saw the whole. Flower that they have in it. But in this movie, I just felt that do you guys remember in World War C when all these zombies were super fast? Suddenly in movies, zombies started to run fast.
28 days later.
Stacking on top of each other. And
Exactly, like smart zombies. I just felt that they wanted to add that to these little creatures. And yes, I think it's something new. It's also, remember, probably we're telling a story for younger generation because this is probably the youngest crew that we ever had in Alien.
Absolutely.
Apart from they mostly come out at night, mostly.
Exactly. Basically, and this is also the first crew that get in trouble probably out of curiosity because the other one went in a mission doing something. These people get in trouble out of curiosity, and it's young people. Probably they're going to start something new. Probably they try to add something new to their franchise. But what else you can add in a franchise that has 44 years already? And 9 movies that we try to do an action slick with Alien fighting versus Predator. What are you doing next? Bringing Arnold Schwarzenegger to fight? I don't know. But
why not? I mean, I'm sorry, does this franchise need a T-1000? I'm not saying no.
I mean,
yeah.
Don't get surprised. Arnold's character in Predator. Like what else they can bring to add something new to a generation that used to watch superheroes. Because basically this movie was made for the generation that it's just exhausted of watching superheroes with a superhero landing, with jokes, with sexual innuendos, with teenagers full of hormones. And this felt like watching a Jason or Freddy Krueger movie just in space and alien. And if you try to add something new, you have to you have to make me fall in love with the things that I saw, like make me nostalgic. And I didn't feel that nostalgia. I felt forced more with Prometheus than with this movie. And probably because Ridley Scott directed the other one. Now Fede is new into this new stuff. Probably they gave it something free or like some like open book to do whatever he wants. And I don't know what new they can add to to this movie. And sometimes when you want to add something new,
Yeah.
you just I don't know, you just breaking what works before.
Throw it against the wall, save the sticks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. And David, what did you think about it? I mean, a new story, the story development we got in the first part of the this one.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, people like to, when people think about Prometheus, I think before we think about anything, we think about like, why in God's name would you go? It's like, go here. Why in God's name would you go? Why would you touch that? I mean, you're making that, as much as I like the bigger questions, the bigger picture that Ridley Scott explores in that movie and a lot more effectively, I thought, in Covenant, you know, there's a certain element where you're distracted by all that going on in Prometheus, and you're like, well, you're of course you're going to get your head torn off at some point, ma'am. But then you come in with
How do you
this
not
little-
expect your head to get torn off at that point? You know?
And then, like we said, we see the mining colony, and I think that really sets the stakes for Rain waking up in this nightmare from her dream of being in Utopia for just barely enough seconds. Then she wakes up back in this hellscape where we find out within a matter of minutes that she's orphaned. She's been working here basically all her life. She doesn't know what the sun looks like because there's 0 hours of sunlight on the Jackson Star colony. I think is how it's referred to. Which
She's got a broke ass android.
Yeah, so she's got broke ass android for a brother that is programmed to look after her and tell her very, very adorable dad jokes. I personally would never get tired of those. But that's just me.
No, I know, right? Yeah.
But that being said, you understand immediately the stakes that this group of orphans is in, right? Of course they're going to go up there and dare to go into this derelict, dark outpost where whatever might be waiting for them. Of course they don't know. They can't expect what is waiting for them, but to get cryopods that they can get the hell out of there, right? So as far as like getting us basic, simple story set up into the stakes, I was on board.
The other day, I was rewatching with some friends the movie Life. I don't know if you guys remember with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a thermos. I have a promo thermos that I got from that movie years ago. I still use it. But yeah.
It's kind of the same algorithm kind of style that we watch in this movie, and it's kind of the source of Aliens movies. And for me, it's like Hollywood just waiting the right bridge to create a different movie just with the same, I don't know, probably formula. And this is movie, because I can't say that it's a boring movie. I can't say I didn't have fun because I totally love.
But go ahead.
Whoa, Tiger. Okay.
No, because the thing is, for me, I enjoy this kind of movies. I love Aliens movie. Like I'm not going to be like an awful critic when I know when I'm gonna watch. It's like when you're gonna watch, I don't know, probably Arnold Schwarzenegger movie back in the 90s that you had fun, but now you watch the same movie, you're not gonna watch it to oh look, they bad edited this sequence or whatever. Like you don't wanna be picky with this.
You're not watching a True Lies, a Commando with the same lens that you did when you went in there in the 90s, right?
It's just a corny movie, action flick with cool.
You're meant to be entertained.
Yeah.
And as let's just say as a movie that a genre we don't actually get enough of, horror sci-fi. Like, have you ever played the video game Dead Space? It had a very Dead Space feel to it, like horror, space, sci-fi.
Yeah.
Did it at least tickle that nerve for you? Did it at least like maybe give you a good vibe for that?
When they arrived to the ship, I felt it that. I felt it like it was arrived to a video game because I don't know, probably the cinematography was choosing orange to show the destruction of the ship. And I don't know. It's just I felt that I was watching a video game for certain moments. But probably it's like I'm saying, they probably making this movie for a generation. Probably they wanna like the same audience. They are having fun watching all these superhero movies.
Yeah.
They don't care about me as a 40 years old film critic that I've been watching movies for 35 years probably.
Because they know you're going to show up anyways.
Exactly. And I have to try it anyway. I'll be there. People will listen. But at the end, the people who are watching this movie, they don't care what you say. Because they're still watching the superhero movies.
So, David, what'd you think? Horror, introduce more horror sci-fi space to you?
Yeah, I've never played Dead Space. I have watched many hours of people play Dead Space because I'm a chicken.
Just as good.
Yes, exactly. For my 2 cents, yeah. But when they get onto that ship, the Renaissance, as it's called, the two ships together, Romulus and the Remus, I felt it. I think what most people have praised the movie for leading up to its release, and even now a couple weeks afterwards, is the sets, right? I mean, the sets are tangible. The way that the cinematographer Galo Olivares plays with light within these sets, that's a pretty remarkable thing to watch on a big screen. I watched it twice. I regret that neither of those times were at IMAX, because I really would like to see what that kind of set building in our era of green screen was like, what would have been like in IMAX, right? But that so you get on board.
We can't afford it in these days and age. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. You get on board with the environments. That being said, I think this is the first time, and I wrote this in my review, that I think this might be the first time in an Alien movie where I thought, first of all, like, oh, I can't, I'm terrified. Instead of thinking I'm terrified to see what's going to happen to these characters, for the first time, I thought, oh, I can't wait to see when the creature pops out. And I think that's because the movie, I think it's just a little, aside from the Rain-Andy dynamic, which we can get a little bit into, I think the cast is dominated a little bit too much by archetype for me to care too much about the characters. So I can have fun, whether I'm being terrified like I should be in an Alien movie, whether it's because someone's getting their eyes gouged out, or burst, or because I'm terrified about the bigger ideas that some of the later installments have come up. That I didn't really feel as much.
Okay. Yeah, but this is also the first movie that they show the creature in the trailer. And if you watch Prometheus and you watch Covenant and you watch the other one, you see the little creature, but you don't see the alien already, all like a huge alien. And I think they need to show more now. And the suspense, because remember, how was built the suspense in the first Alien? We didn't know what we were watching. We saw this guy popping up or something and then running away. We didn't know what we were watching. Now, after 40 years, we are expecting that this monster come out. We know that the blood is acid. We know everything about them.
We know more than the characters. We're waiting for the characters to catch up.
Exactly. We know what they're capable of, but the characters don't know anything. Right. They just go like kids. Like, I don't know, like probably an animal was watching something bright, like your cat playing with a
right. Yeah, so
they don't know what they're gonna do when they catch it.
Yeah, exactly.
But we know what will happen. So probably that's, for us, it's more fun than for people that actually are familiar with what's gonna happen. And it's hard to love a movie that you know what's gonna happen, you know everything, because I don't know. It's just different going back to superhero movies, going back to any franchise. That you, even watching a TV show, when you're watching 5 seasons on a TV show, you know the characters, you know what they're capable of. Sure. But now this happened with this creature. We know what they're capable of.
Yeah, I hear you, Ruben. But at the same time, if we know what's going to happen and what's going to eventually happen to these creatures, maybe just not like the aesthetics of an individual set piece, right? Whether the set piece is going to lean more into like the original Alien or Aliens, which this movie kind of dips its feet a little into both, right? Even if we know what's coming, then does what kind of impetus, shouldn't that give some kind of impetus? I think that should give some kind of impetus to the director to try something new conceptually, with ideas, with themes, and he brushes with it here. I like what we see as far as the mining colony and Weyland-Yutani. Part of me is like, I kind of like that for the whole franchise, the corporation, and the way it just degrades like the human quality of the world, of the movie world. I like that all that's kind of kept to the sidelines, right? But I understand several movies in, they have to bring it a little bit more into the forefront like they do here. So.
Well, I mean, I watch a Friday the 13th movie knowing I'm going to get some sweet Jason Machete action, okay? I watch a Godzilla movie, I know that dude's about to redecorate Tokyo, okay? You go into an Aliens movie, you know you're like, I'm going to get some face huggers, I'm going to get some chest bursters, I'm going to get some weird like second set of jaws going through some skulls.
You get Chekhov's pregnancy.
You're going to get all that, right? I mean...
Why that's always a pregnancy? I don't...
It's a motherhood metaphor. It's an allegory, right? Okay, but I mean, did it disappoint in that same realm of? Did you go there looking to see all three of those creatures wrapped into one? Did it give you that?
For me, I was expecting to see what's different about this movie, because you're telling me this is between the first one and the second one. So how they connected, how we jump from what happened between them. So if you're gonna tell me a story How I connect those two movies, and you make this movie, I think it's not like masterpiece. It's not Rogue One. For me, Rogue One is big plus in Star Wars universe. This is no.
I'm sorry. Could Rogue One use a xenomorph? Just one, like a lightsaber through a xenomorph? Would I sleep better having seen that movie? Yes. We'll get back to that one. George, approve it. But go ahead, Ruben.
And for me, it's just like I said before. This is just a good excuse. It's not the best movie. It's not a great movie, but I think it's just a movie to have fun watching it. To people to go back and probably buy or rent the first one and the second one and just start connecting. Probably it was made to marketing those movies, the whole franchise. But for me, just why I'm sitting here, I didn't feel that I just waste 2 hours of my time. I didn't get bored. I had so much fun. I didn't watch the movie probably with the press screenings. It's different. It's a different vibe when you watch the movie with audience, when you watch it with critics.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can like the movie, but then come a friend of yours to like, oh my God, this movie's awful. I didn't like the sequence, whatever. And then when you go and watch it with real audience, it's like you see the audience having fun and screaming and yelling. You get into that. It's impossible if you like movies. Probably that has a lot to do with that I like that movie. And that's it. Like I think it's not a necessary movie, but it was a movie that was made to have fun. It's not a movie that's going to reduce the value of the first one or the second one.
Yeah.
But who directed the second one? It was James Cameron?
James Cameron.
Yeah, it was James Cameron.
Big Boy Jim, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, speaking of, that's just segued to me wanting to say that, for me, I come at it a little bit differently where I'm like, if you're 7 movies, 9 movies deep, whether we want to count the AVP movies or not, that kind of says a lot about a person whether you count those in the Alien franchise. Notwithstanding,
that's the litmus test. That's a first date question.
Exactly. But 7 movies deep, and for me, I think the onus is on the filmmaker to try something new, especially when it comes to Alien movies, because each one really is something different, and each one in their own way is disgusting conceptually. Each one is interesting. It's grimly beautiful. Sometimes when you get even to like the more vicious parts of like Alien 3 or 4, Covenant, they're even a little bit provocative, right? I just didn't happen to feel any of that with this one, which makes me think that's not what makes this a worthy franchise entry for me.
So then let's get into that. Let's get into, because there's different aspects of this movie you can look at. You can look at the Fede Alvarez horror space sci-fi. You can look at the general, does this feel like a little stepped on studio nostalgia things? Like, put that shot in. Fede's like, I don't want to put the shot in, trust me. For whatever reason, nostalgia, like we're not already sitting in the theaters. Like, anyway.
Right.
And then there's the Ridley Scott, which let's touch upon Prometheus. Let's touch upon Covenant. Let's touch upon, can Ridley Scott just write a goddamn book explaining what the hell all of this was supposed to be, from the creation of this thing to the creation of this thing to how the Xenomorph became what it is? What is going on? Because every time since, I'm going to exclude Aliens Resurrection. I'm going to exclude Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, this one, there seems to be adding new different tidbits every single damn time, and now we got this special black juice you can squeeze out of a xenomorph, and all of a sudden you can put this, you can inject it into a sub-person, and then you're gonna get the half creator, half xenomorph mix, when I'm like, hold on. So then, from my understanding is the xenomorphs work in the sense that they take on a little bit from the host that they get from, and we've been saying humans, so you get human things. Alien 3, you get alien and a canine, so you get a different kind of xenomorph. Hot damn, yes. AVP, yes, I'm going to include those. You get a little bit of Predator and Xenomorph. That combo that came in with AVP 2, I believe, the followed up with that. Right. Hell yes, it shows adaptability. And then Prometheus Covenant come out, and then like, no, it's different. This android was making a juice, and then there's these creators, and they did this. And then, David, you're a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
Explain, please.
I think for me, I don't know if I can explain it so much as I can provide the way that the reasoning that I've been able to avoid getting lost into the logic and chronology and lore.
I'm in the void. I'm the alien that got sucked out. I got sucked out of the shuttle. I'm floating in there, and then I'm like, well, where am I?
You're deep in it. I approach the franchise that, the first 4 is just such a fascinating example to various degrees of success, right? Different directors, different heights of their individual powers in Hollywood. Putting their own stamp on this franchise, what Ridley Scott did with Prometheus and Covenant, to my eyes, is him coming to terms with, I didn't think when I made this movie in 1977, when I was there on the red carpet of Alien, that it would get as big as it did. And now I have these bigger ideas I could tackle through this franchise, potentially get some studio backing that way, because it's a familiar connection to what folks know, right? What you're referring to, though, is something that does annoy me about Romulus, in that in the first third or so in which I was on board, it seemed like it was really just down to basics, focus on this character, focus on the nitty gritty set pieces, this interesting
Brass
dynamic.
tacks.
This interesting dynamic between Rain and Andy, right, in which Andy is an android who's very sympathetic, is programmed with one directive to protect his, in effect, his human sibling, Rain, right?
And make that joke. So two,
and make
two
that
directives.
jokes. That's right.
Yes.
And then he gets this upgrade that turns out in his head, and that was a very interesting dynamic.
I like that introduction. Yeah.
What made me kind of what felt like a little bit about a betrayal halfway through the movie is that all of a sudden we get a needle drop from the Prometheus score, and then some kind of reverse engineering logic that I think is kind of some kind of backwards story building into what Ridley Scott did with Prometheus, which is obviously a prequel to the whole franchise in these movies. And that to me feels like, well, if this is supposed to be a franchise gateway, which is how I was watching it through the lens of, why are you suddenly dropping in all these referential things? And then it just goes to show the references just kind of pick up steam from there. So
yeah, okay. So so did you feel like what was added? Again, the xenomorph juice, I guess the creator juice. I don't know what it is. It was some black juice.
It lost me because as presented at Romulus, it gets into like the details and the logic in a way that I think is getting on you, right? And that annoys you, but that never bugged me about how Ridley Scott approached Prometheus and Covenant, if that makes sense. Because those movies, I think it's clear he's approaching it from a big picture, cosmic spectacle, grand questions perspective, which makes it easier to access everything else. Here, it's the other way, where it's like logic. Here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to know. And you're like, I'm like, you've lost me, because now you're reaching back into a different kind of movie, and I don't think that works with the parameters of Romulus.
Also, it's about budget. Every alien, it feels that it have a bigger budget, and probably when you have a bigger budget, you focus in what you don't have to focus, because Alien, the first one, you created characters. It's about characters, and we care about the characters. Then the movie is getting bigger, and we care about how it looks. The movie, how awful, how bad as the creature. I think that reduced. Like in terms of substance, I think they just lack of substance since the first one. Probably just Ripley is the same character that we care about it, but Ripley, it's a great character since the beginning. And then became like an icon. And now we're trying to get someone that looks like her. Probably a young version of Ripley's version in this movie, because we had this girl from the guy with the dragon tattoo, I forgot her name. I thought he's gonna be
Kaylee Spaney?
No. In Prometheus.
Prometheus, yeah.
Oh, Prometheus.
Yeah.
I forgot her name. But we're always trying to get someone who replace Ripley.
Right. And then Catherine Waterston in Covenant, yeah.
We're trying to replace her. Right. And for some reason, we're still trying to replace her. And when we try to replace someone, we're not creating anything new. We're just repeating probably the same formula before.
Sure.
And if a movie just only to have fun like this one, probably the first one was something different, because they're trying to tell a story. They're trying to create something for that movie. Then they just hired James Cameron, a new director, to create something based on, I don't know, to make more money. Then David Fincher, then just try bringing people to create something different. But they just under a huge studio. It's hard to create something new.
Yeah.
Because they need to have revenue. They need revenue. They don't care about quality when they tell about the story. That's why they have an independent kind of side of the studio.
Yeah.
But with this movie, probably they want to start something new for young people. Probably they're gonna bring something new. I don't know, cameos. Now you have the skills disconnecting two movies. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, but it's fun to have fun. For me, I have fun watching this movie.
And to the movie's credit, Ruben, as far as new stuff, there is this interesting kind of tension and dynamic, like I mentioned before, between Rain and Andy, right? Which I think is really interesting. Like when people first think, when people maybe are told to watch Alien and maybe say they've made it to our age, they haven't watched Alien yet, and someone tells them they need to see it, they know about the xenomorph. They know they're going to get into that. What they might not know about is how androids and synthetics play a role in not only in that movie, but in this whole universe, right? As representatives of Weyland-Yutani, and as representatives of I'm being directed to do something. I might have emotions, I might not, because some earlier versions of androids do, as we see in Prometheus, and Prometheus, and then some later on they don't. They literally have deprogrammed that empathy and pathos out of them, as we see in Covenant with the two performances from Michael Fassbender, right? So that being said, how they, to the movie's credit, to Romulus's credit, they do make that modernize that a bit with Andy and Rain, and I love that we got maybe for the first time in this franchise as much of a spotlight on the androids as the xenomorphs and what each represents in this world, and how each can be kind of weaponized against the other, right? I mean, I thought it was really cool how they turned expectations on our heads as far as when we see the upgrade with Andy with the android and Romulus when he gets that upgrade, and all of a sudden his directive is not to protect Rain, it's to finish the Weyland-Yutani's corporation's mission, which is capture this xenomorph. All of a sudden that means that, oh, those human lives over here, they're expendable. You know, I thought that was a really interesting dynamic, and that kept me on my toes.
But they always expendables in every alien movies, because the android has something going. Michael Fassbender is like this evil that you don't know what's his next step. It's like playing chess with everybody.
Sure.
And but he was following a purpose. He was following someone's purpose, and we didn't know even until the end of Prometheus. But the thing is, like, it's confusing sometimes, because now we have like a clear version of people just getting in trouble because they're stupid. In previous movies, they were already
attacked. Yeah,
exactly. In previous movies, they went in a mission. They went to do something. These people just because they're stupid, but stupid with a purpose. Because like you say, the android had a purpose. Probably the other one didn't know, but the android always had a purpose.
Right.
I'm gonna just playing with the new language of AI. It's helpful. It's just trying to use us. Like, it's just the whole paranoia that we've been having since forever, Terminator 2 and Skynet. And
well, I mean, look, if you're going to have a movie based on Earth, robots are the bad guys. You're going to have a movie in space, robots are your buddies and your sidekick. Until they're not. Until they get an upgrade. Okay, so moving on from that, from the general purpose of the storyline, from strategy to tactics, how it got done, how Fede used it, special effects. How did you feel about the minimal use of CGI, maximal use of practical effects? David?
Loved it. I mean, you know, like we talked about, for the most part, the sets are rendered extremely well. That's a thing he talked about in early interviews when he was talking about when Alvarez was talking about what to him is an alien movie. It's the tangibility of these sets and making sure that you know that these characters and these actors aren't running across a green screen. They're running for these lives through sets that they look like they're on a derelict outpost, and then in turn, hopefully that enhances the performances and then the audience's enjoyment, right? You know, it was just what, 18, 20 months ago that we talked about how the hell Ant-Man Quantumania could look as bad as it does with the Disney budget. And here we are with this being like, back down to basics, create these sets, make them look, bring with them a level of craft and dedication and knowledge of the franchise and what's come before, to maybe make the references like almost sensorial in a sense. Those are my favorite kind of referential touch points, not like the plot for awkward resurrected one-liners, right? That being said, something about these environments, just as nice as they look, especially in conjunction with the lighting and cinematography, they don't feel, something about them just doesn't feel as lived in as the first one. Maybe it's just like what hindsight has done to that 1977 original and how groundbreaking it was and how it looked and with those sets, right? But the face.
Well, when they didn't have the option to have computer generated or anything, right? When you don't have that option, you're like, well, then this is what we're going to do. So it felt like a lived-in shuttle. With this one, they had the option where Fede chose to do the practical, the actual set, but then maybe added the. Because, I mean, obviously you're not going to have real acid blood floating in ZOG. Right. I mean, as much as you want to try, I don't feel like we're up to that yet. Yeah. So, you know, you had to add in those elements. But did you feel like that was a good mixture of, hey, this is an actual window this guy's looking out of, but then you add the rings of the planet afterwards? Like, Ruben, how'd you feel about it?
I think it's great. It's like I was saying, they added more money to the budget of CGI. Previous movie basically happened in one location. but now we see more of space. I think this is probably the movie based on aliens that we have seen more. It's like space sequences. Usually we see. I remember in Prometheus, we was like a planet, and then it was like always something in the ground. It was always the ground. This one is probably where space is really a character. It matters. It just creates the atmosphere for you to know that you are in space and you're probably in danger. And then everything starts falling from that part.
Wow.
But at the end, it doesn't matter because even the little creatures felt the CGI because they were CGI. And I didn't feel there was abuse of the CGI. I think it was meant for IMAX. It was meant for marketing. And I think it was correct. I think Fede, thinking about it, this is his first movie using like heavy CGI. In Evil Dead, it was mostly tricks, the terror tricks with blood, with scary.
Someone actually sliced her tongue into?
Well, there's a lot of sequences.
Hey, that's committed acting, okay? That's method. Anyway.
But I felt it's a really great character. This movie, I didn't feel like overwhelmed by the CGI. I think it was correct. I think it's add to the story. I didn't felt even the cinematography, like I mentioned at the beginning, it helped through colors to makes me feel what they're going through. Orange. It's a red color. It's dangerous. It's like a yellow when they have the helmet. Everything has like a specific colors, and I think that add to the story.
Yeah, I like that. For me, almost more than the effects themselves, I was a huge fan of the editing. It fits and starts. I think there's some people that say this is a propulsive alien movie. I wouldn't say I wouldn't call it propulsive. I think there's bits where it slogs, sequences where it slogs a bit, the momentum stalls.
Yeah. Fair point.
There was a scene early on where when we get the requisite initial chest burster emergence, right as the ship is crashing against the Renaissance, that was pretty stunning both times I saw it. And then talk about metaphorically speaking, like life versus like death and destruction on one end on different scales. That sequence was pretty marvelously edited, and it kind of give the movie a bit of a jolt of momentum that kind of also harmonized with the story and the overarching like ideas and stakes, right? So
no, fair enough.
The editing, I think it's a little sloppy. I agree with you.
Oh, okay.
But no, I agree. I put it in my review, my critic.
Yeah.
I think it's sloppy. I think it felt that was made in a rush. Probably, I don't know. That's how it feels. It feels like it didn't took time. It wasn't like a long sequence. It was no more than 10-second sequences. And it was meant just to, I don't know, it's just to make me feel that my eyes were cutting too much to I don't know, to different sequences. It wasn't a moment that I felt that I was into the story, and that takes away that persecution, the hunt of cat and mouse and kind of stuff. Probably they wanted to shake the camera too much. I don't know. I just felt everything was made in a rush. It's the part that I didn't like about the movie, and that's how it feels. It just felt that it didn't add it to the sequence. It could be better. It could have been better. It's a movie that I don't know. It's a movie that it could be better in terms of persecution of that feeling that we had in Don't Breathe. Like something is next door, something is in the corner, something is coming.
Some scenes didn't get to breathe enough for you to feel like you're in it with them.
Exactly. Probably he forgot kind of style. The horror kind of style. It's a language.
Yeah.
There's a language that you have to be expecting something. And expectation, it's the base of horror. It's the base of these kind of stories. That you have to let them rest. Just trust me.
Yeah.
And
like it was 2 hours of moving when there was a couple things. I'm like, it could have been 2 hours with less movement in some scenes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not about telling like the touring horse, but it's about just make me feel into the story instead of just racing with me.
Okay, so let's say in terms of music, the soundtrack, did you feel like that? I mean, did it live up to the other scores of the other movies? Did it feel like it brought you in? Were there some familiarities to some of them? Because I know a couple. I think was it the soundtrack of Prometheus made an appearance at a certain points in this one. David, what are you thinking?
Yeah, well, what's interesting, what was interesting to me is that, people talk about how, the best scores, they talk about this in certain ways, like a lot of elements of filmmaking, right? With their cinematography, editing, the sound design.
We all took our film school classes,
Yeah. A lot of people, us cinephiles, like to say that the score is the one you don't notice. You feel it, and it kind of helps move the movie along, gives it some momentum, right? I think for better or for worse, that's what it feels like here. It wasn't particularly memorable to me, separate from what we're seeing on screen. Although one thing I do appreciate is that the score, by who is the composer? I want to make sure I mention him. Benjamin Wallfish, who did like the Twisters, The Flash, 13 Lives, It. So he has experience scoring like pretty big recent blockbusters, right?
He's been around. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. What I appreciate was that he modernized the soundtrack, whereas the original Alien was very orchestral, even symphonic at parts, right, to kind of match Scott's filmmaking. Here, it's a little more discordant. It's a little more jumpy, electronic, digitized for sure. To me, it kind of makes me wonder what it would sound like if Reznor and Ross ever scored an Alien movie. Maybe that's the best compliment I can give him, is that it kind of reaches for that, and sometimes it gets to it. So
at sometimes I felt like it was less orchestral, but I definitely felt more 80s synth vibe from this one a little bit more. Ruben, what'd you think?
I agree 100%. I think it's like we mentioned, they're trying to create something new. They go along with their characters. This is the youngest character that they ever had. And for me, it made no sense if you just bring the orchestra that you had in Prometheus on Covenant, because there was already a mature audience. It was a different character you're showing me. It's a different even movie. When I say in terms of movie, even though we have the same villains, the aliens, for me, they're not villains. They're just trying to survive. You think about
They're just existing, evolving, surviving. Yeah.
It's like getting lost in the Amazon. It's like getting lost in the Amazon. Animals need to survive. How are they going to survive? Eating you.
Fair.
So this is like a Lake Placid. You feel for them.
Just like us.
Yeah,
right. This is what I would do if my blood was acid.
That being said, for me, I thought the sound production was even more successful. We're talking about what we can hear right in the movie. I think the sound production might have been the most successful aesthetic element in the movie for me. There's a bit early on where when they're in their like ship and they're taking off from the mining colony into space, many of them not to return once again, right? But there's that bit where the ship takes off and it just screams up, and it literally it's a sound effects, but it literally sounds like a scream. Yeah. And I love that touch, because that kind of like, that was one of the few moments for me where I like braced in my seat. I was like, okay, aesthetically that was a beautiful touch, because you're getting into the franchise's iconic tagline, right? And then B, it just warps you into like, oh, they're headed towards a doom they can't even see coming. So that the sound editing for me in that spot and in others was pretty spot on, honestly.
How did you feel about like the airlock sounds? To me, I don't know, I love the clinkiness of because it feels physical, it feels mechanical. Yeah. And that's what I love about that you get sometimes in a good Alien thing, that's just like grounded in a real life physics of it. Like you feel the clanking of a door, you feel like you hear the buttons like push. Like you feel that a little bit. Did you pick that up more in this, or?
I think so. Anytime where we have a movie where the sound is cut out for a prolonged period of time, maybe a minute or so, and you can feel the audience members behind you nervously chomping and opening candy packets, you're like, oh, I kind of love that. And here the movie starts with that, right? It starts in space with that prologue where the Weyland-Yutani ship is picking up the alien from space. So I kind of love that prolonged kind of to Ruben's point. That might be the only sequence in the movie where things really breathe and it draws you into like back into this world as we're slowly getting into this Weyland-Yutani ship. So I kind of loved whenever things would go completely silent. Holdo maneuver style from The Last Jedi, right?
Yeah. Ruben, what'd you feel?
No, it's just like David said. I want to add, it's in terms of production, they also went above and beyond in terms of the whole creating the whole ship and the whole ambience. Because remember now, we can the technology that we have in these last three movies, we didn't have it in the first one. Like you can see through people, that you can see the alien side of people.
Did you like the little X-ray wand that she had? Was that not cool? That was a cool element, right?
It's like in Prometheus, we have the C-section.
Yeah.
You have a C-section.
Oh yes! Oh my God! It was like yes.
And then she just crawled out of it, and like everything was like the technology that they created for these new movies, I think is super cool.
Yeah.
Like, did it seem practical to you? Just like I kind of like it had the cyberpunk element that I liked about it is that it had tangible things, but it's also the cyberpunk future where it's like it's new tech that we don't have now, but it's also doesn't work half the time like tech does now.
Yeah.
Like it had a real feel to them.
Yeah, it felt like technology you'd see in this world, in the world of Alien, right? So I think
practical.
I think that's the biggest box you got to check off. Yeah.
But it can be it can be like two things. It can be like it takes away the moment of, I don't know, like explosion, like we had the first time. Because remember, in that first movie, the trauma, like the impressed people, it wasn't this thing come up on your chest. Just imagine that he could have seen what was inside of him. We didn't have that sequence.
Yeah.
Probably because they know that we know already is that's why they're doing this to add some suspense or something. Okay, he's screwed. Like
Extra element. Yeah.
Because if there's something we could say about Alien, it's like, why didn't he take X-rays of his body instead of just how did you not see that? And that was almost like a remedy for that of like, well, let's just say a few decades later, X-rays were easier. I don't know. It's like maybe that was a little thing of just like, okay, hey, here's somebody who has the sense of let me do an X-ray of myself real quick.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe the world of Alien Romulus, they just heard rumors about guys on some ship that no one ever heard from again. With that something burst out of his chest, and we're like, you know what we need is an X-ray wand. Let's make that.
Hell yeah, that's a
I
dream.
think it's the kind of proof that this universe gives so much time. Now it's 52 years from the first one. Why waiting 52 years to then bring it back? Like the people who live in that era, if you just imagine that they're real, it's like every 100 years we're gonna have this invasion of aliens, of these mother, beasts who try to eat us and love to have babies.
Oh, it loves to procreate.
They love to have babies for
The
some
Nick
reason.
Cannon of space. They just love to just procreate. That's what the xenomorphs are. Now, how do we feel about let's get down to the characters. Like characters versus the acting. I mean, it's kind of hard to differentiate from them, but how did we feel about, let's just start off with original, Kaylee Spaney. Do you think this is Kaylee Spaney's movie, or do you think she was better than others?
I think she's great. I think it worked for her. I think her face, it's just perfect to express what she's going through or the other going through. I think that's the reason why they choose her, because she's beautiful, but she's not this kind of beauty who gonna focus on how beautiful this character.
It's not like beauty plus. It's like, oh no, okay, she's a gorgeous woman, but that's negligible. This is a woman acting. This is a woman like fighting. This is a woman like surviving.
Exactly. They didn't focus on make her look gorgeous. Even they didn't give her any sexy scenes like before, because we had.
Is that what the Alien franchise is missing? Is some good sex scenes?
No, I don't.
No.
Well, we had them in Prometheus. We had them in Covenant. We had this famous tank top that Sigourney Weaver wearing in the Alien movies.
Yeah.
So like, it's not sexual at all. I think that adds to a young character to focus on what she has to do on survive. That she didn't get in trouble because the way she looks or the way she probably can get out of this, of getting stuff. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel the sexual tension of the male or the female character, even for the young audience. And I think that's I don't know. It's a good thing for them, because it just focuses on how good you are as an actor.
David, what do you feel?
I mean, what a sustained run over the last year or so that Kaylee Spaney is on, right? With first Priscilla, Civil War, and now this. I mean, across these three movies.
Civil War, yes,
Civil
definitely.
War, but she looked like a kid in Civil War.
Yeah.
Like it's,
because she has that. She's 26, but she has that ability where she can play anything from like she has that look where she can play mid-teens.
Yeah. I mean, the quality that's emerged from Kaylee Spaney across those three movies is that she's just a master of things that go unspoken, right? And kind of the unspoken revelation. And Priscilla, it was understanding that this dream fantasy relationship she could have gotten into, life she could have gotten into living with Elvis is actually kind of turning into a living nightmare.
Oh, and she worked Priscilla.
Yeah, she did.
100% she did. She was good in that movie.
Civil War, you kind of see her as like this wannabe this fangirl of Kirsten Dunst's photojournalist character, and wanting to learn more about what comes into that. And then as the movie goes on, she comes into her own, and kind of as depending on how you look at Civil War as a movie, what it says about photojournalism and kind of the craziness it can take to be a war photographer, kind of becoming almost her own villain in that movie, right? And that's all kind of happening under the surface, and you can see it happening. So where that when the end happens, you know it's coming all along. It's just kind of a gut punch. And in here, it's kind of the same thing. She's just she's subtle in the way we see her realizations and her reckonings with her relationship with Andy. You know, the things that she's kept from him about why the synthetic brother of hers won't be able to come with her when they go to Paradise, when they leave the system, the mining colony, and kind of the self-resilience it takes to fight for survival in spite of that guilt, right? But for me, metaphorically speaking, performances wise, there's like a xenomorph in the cast, and it's David Johnson. He's just eating up everyone alive. I mean,
oh my God. I mean, I felt bad for anybody that wasn't David Johnson in any scene with David Johnson, because it's just like you're fighting for the spotlight in those scenes, because David Johnson brought it.
Talk about a star-making turn. I don't know if y'all watched Industry. That was my introduction, probably most as introduction to him as HBO's Industry.
I heard good things, but
he's a side character in that. He's not in season 3 because he's off doing big bad Hollywood projects now. And
he's a big boy now.
But he in Industry, and the scenes that he had gravitas. And then there was Rylane from a couple years ago, which just showed how mechanically gifted he was. And as an actor, he could just do all kinds of different things with his posture, his stature, his facial expressions. And when we see that here, right? I mean,
he played two characters as one character, and you visibly see the difference between like when he's one and versus the other.
He makes you think like different actors happening. Yeah.
Remember, Michael Fassbender did the same thing, playing two androids. Sure. And you can tell by the look, by the look in the face, who is the good one and who was the bad one.
Yeah.
Even with the behavior, it's calm. It's just being an android.
Yeah,
David Johnson is great.
Yeah, he's just able to like manifest like melancholy and bittersweetness in his eyes, and in scenes where maybe even he internally might not know why he feels like that, but you can see it maybe before he does, which I think on a storytelling level, as far as what happens in Romulus, I think is pretty damn great. So
now do you think? I mean, David versus Andy. In terms of two different androids, for one, which one would you go to the movie with? No, but how do you feel like? I mean, how do you feel was like an android that stands out more? Like which the portrayal? I mean, I'm not going to compare Michael Fassbender acting versus David Johnson acting. I don't like to compare actors that way, but character-wise, personification-wise, which one would you prefer to see more of? Would you like to see more Andy or more David?
I'll stay with David.
Yeah?
I mean, I love it.
I'm on the record.
Michael Fassbender's David?
I'm already on the record as saying that Covenant is my second best favorite Alien movie, and I think that the Davids and that tension, that dynamic, what they represent both in the immediate stakes of that movie and in the bigger questions Ridley is exploring in those two movies. Hopefully soon to be a trilogy if they're to God.
Again, do you think Ridley's going to answer all the things he wants to do in that third movie? Because again, sometimes I'm watching. I'll go back to this. I know we're not on this topic right now. Prometheus, Covenant. Ever see the term like, hey, this meeting could have been an email? Yeah, these movies could have been a book, dude. Okay, or maybe it's a short TV series, all wrapped in one. Could you decide, Ridley, what the hell the rules are so that we can all understand and abide by them?
I think there's a viciousness and like a gravitas in those movies that wouldn't come across as books. But again, that goes back to it. It seems like David's sole purpose is to destroy everything you thought you knew about xenomorphs and completely make you second guess everything. I feel like that's David as an android. His one purpose is to screw up everything chronologically in your head, and I think he succeeds in that. I think his purpose in those movies is learning, right? Like learning after what happens at Prometheus, learning that when you go and find your creators, they're just gonna destroy your boss right in front of you. What happens to a poor, horribly aged, terrifyingly aged Guy Pearce in Prometheus, right? And then he's learning and he takes that on and he becomes what he becomes in Covenant. But talking about performance wise though, I mean, what Fassbender does, he propels those movies. I think Johnson in many ways, for me, as far as the best aspects of Romulus, he propels them So I mean, I feel pretty comfortable putting him on that level at least.
But for me, it's even hope. When you watch Michael Fassbender as David, even at the end, you think he's doing the right thing, and at the end, he just 100.
Right.
It's like, is he doing the right thing? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
It just feels like he's just shaking shit up. He's literally the creator of Xenomorph. So like, do we need to thank him?
Because it's like David said, he want to learn. He's trying to learn, and the only way as a scientist that he has the way to learn is trials. He need to test. He need to try. He need to let me see what I do with this black thing in the water. What will happen to him? And then he sees everything, and then he know what to do next. It's evil, but that's how we got antibiotics.
Yeah.
Thanks the hundreds of deaths that got us antibiotics. Okay, no. What about Ian Holm? He came back and he was. How did you feel? Oh, I see the face of David. I see Ruben shaking too. How did you feel about his original portrayal as who was he in Alien? He was Bishop in Alien,
he was Ash. He was Ash.
That's right. He was Ash, and then he was Rook. And this new one, he was playing obviously two different androids, but he's of the same model, the same things, whatever. How did you feel about this reintroduction of Ian Holm into this? David, I want to get to that face. Go ahead.
Oh, I threw up a little bit in my mouth. And the thing is, like, there's another really good podcast where the host talks to Fede about why he did this and just talk about his reasoning, anticipating that this is going to be a talking point out of Romulus, right? And Fede Alvarez, to his credit, said, they did all the right things and they made sure it was okay with his family. They talked to, he made sure that with Ridley that it would happen in a way that, to their eyes, they could at least agree it honored what came before as far as that character of. But again, not even the same character, right? It's Ash versus Rook, which to me kind of makes it a bit baffling why they decided to go with that choice versus someone else instead of using some horrible CGI. And then some very questionable, but also very like 2020s questions of what are we doing with filmmaking as far as using our digital abilities to bring back actors who aren't with us no more.
Dead actors. No,
I no longer with us.
I liked and understood the idea of it is an android of the same model. I did understand that. I got where they're coming from that. But I do feel like out of all the practical effects, you couldn't make an animatronic Ian Holm. You had to do a weird CGI, like 2007 video game version of Ian Holm. Like, why? We're in 2024 and you couldn't make that look better?
I had to cover my eyes. I mean, I knew it was coming. And the sad thing is, when I was watching the first time, it's coming because they're so clearly showing like the half body of this android. He's lying there. Rook has been torn apart right on the space station. And then it's coming because they're teasing everything. They're like showing the face when they're propping up. It's half shadowed. You see him from a distance. You kind of see the bottom half of his face. And for me, if you're feeling like I am, it's like it's coming. It's like something's gripping inside you like a chest burster. And then what comes out is frustration because you're like, y'all, why? I mean, it's
out of the word for words from the other movies, there was like the studio's like, nostalgia, guys, remember nostalgia, remember that from the other movies,
right?
The only one that I understood is I cannot lie about the was it the probability?
Yeah, but
I cannot lie about the chances, but you have my sympathies. Yeah. I understand that line. That could have been the only line that was from another movie because it made sense because he's from the same model, from the same thing. That is the only Studios, that is the only nostalgia that makes sense, is when it's already a robot and it's a pre-programmed line that it already has and it puts it together. That makes sense. Outside of that,
is with mistakes.
Yeah, that's what Ruben, how'd you feel?
Same. I think it was too much bringing back Home. It was too much. But I think it's about, like, remember, you don't have to tell everything when you have a movie. You can use holograms. You can use video. You can use so many tools. I'm bringing back Ian Holm just because the movie happened between the first one and the second one. It was a little too much. There's so many ways that you can bring nostalgia without showing nostalgia. And if you, as a studio, you want to create something new and connect the old thing, you don't have to force it.
Yeah, there
Just
will be
let
similarities in the same world, but it doesn't have to be the same.
exactly let people to figure it out.
Okay.
Let people to go back to the movies to watch the first one, to watch the second one, and then they made that connection.
Especially, yeah. Go ahead, Ruben. Sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
No, I was
Hold
gonna
on. I'm the moderator. Go ahead.
Especially when we have this franchise that has a legacy of great actors stepping in the shoes of the android characters, right?
Really?
Like, why not continue that lineage of actor Ian Holm, Lance Hendrickson, Michael Fassbender, and now like
did we need the same
Yeah.
actor to come in here? Could we
Exactly.
done a different
Exactly.
android? They're like an android from a previous one. He's a new android. He's only in there for a hot second. We didn't need him,
And for me, as someone who thinks that the fact that this is set exactly 50-some years or whatever between Alien and Aliens, I think that's a little bit personally superfluous. I think that explains why you see the crumpled up remains of the Nostromo at the beginning. But even then, if you would have told me that was 10 minutes or 100 years later, I would have believed you. Especially when you're thinking about like I can see it if they thought a CGI'd Ian Holm might also connect back to the proximity chronology-wise to the first movie, but already to me, so little in the movie surrounding that is doing that, which makes it even more unnecessary. So
it's like the CGI for Batman versus Superman, when they tried to eliminate Henry Cavill beard.
Where you're just like to the point of like, what have you done? Like that, you turn him into like an actual person into an uncanny valley. Like, how do you do? He's a real person. How'd you make him not look like a real person?
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to a character and an actor that held their own in this. That did not get. I mean, obviously, respect to Spike Fern that played Bjorn, or Archie Renault that played Tyler. Eileen Wu, who played Navarro, I liked Navarro as the character. She was, out of the other superfluous that wasn't, Rain, that wasn't Andy, Navarro as a third character worth watching. I loved every scene she was in. She was the girl with the head on her shoulders. She was practical. She knew what she was doing. I was sad that she was the first one to go, which also may have set the stage because everybody else is incompetent as hell. She was the only one that knew what she was doing, except she got the face hugger first.
Yeah,
how did you feel about her performance?
I think I think you're right in that after Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Eileen Wu, who I'd never seen before. I don't know if she has been in anything before. Yeah. I think she's got presence. I mean, I think that I think that we were talking about in terms of her character. I think that's her performance doing the work to bring all those all that out and that investment out. I think that it's her presence and her gravitas and her kind of unspoken like empathy, but also like determination. Like, I know what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it. That's kind of like the characters that she inhabits, right? Her personality trait. I think that informs what we think of as the character, which is on paper maybe not someone who's very three-dimensional at all, but when you see her on screen, because you find a young actor in Eileen Wu who has this presence and this gravitas that fits in this universe, she kind of almost seemed like from the beginning, she almost seemed aware and expected that they were doomed from the start. And I kind of like that fitting in with like the fatalism of the franchise. You know, I thought she was great. I agree with you.
Ruben, what'd you feel?
100% agree. Yeah. Sometimes when you have these small characters, if they add too much to a story, it's totally worth it. I think, I wouldn't say I'm looking forward for more because we know what happened, but it's just so much chemistry, and just kudos to the casting department. Like, even with probably they not well known if you don't watch so many movies, but it felt that chemistry. I felt that they actually were bonded. And usually you don't see that in I don't know, when you see these movies of people in space, you kind of felt that someone is tough. But here it's a young, really young crew where you felt it. Like, you felt it's me and my buddies just getting lost and getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think the whole cast of the movie, I think it worked perfectly.
I think she gave that, like, her character Navarro had the feeling of somebody who has been in space, like somebody who has been working there, but she knows how systems work, she knows how that works, whatever. Like, this ain't her first space mission, you know, like she had like for the short time that we got her, she was worth every frame on film, honestly. And sad moment that she had to go. But as soon as she went, you're like, well, everyone else is screwed if she didn't make it, you know?
Yeah.
like, oh my God, it reminds me of her character in Aliens. She was the tough woman that had the red bandana. Who am I thinking of? What was her name? Oh, this is gonna bother me. This is some dead space now as I'm trying to think of her name. Um, oh yeah, in the Alien, she's the one that ended up getting it going. In the she was like her and her buddy in the AC unit, like we're going together, hit the thing exploding. She
Right.
gave me those vibes. Like she gave me those like if you gave her a gun, she would have held her own for a bit longer, you know, like or if she was with a smarter crew, she'd still be with us. Like that's what the feeling I got from her, and that tells you something about of Eileen Wu and of an actor of if hey. You're not going to get the star role. You can be the secondary, secondary throw. You can be a peripheral. That's my dream, is to be a peripheral role in a movie like this. And you know who you are and what you can do, and you still bring it in the few shots that you get to be in. That says something, I think.
There are actors out there who would give an arm and a leg to be the victim of the chest burster scene and know they're out in the first third of the movie, right?
Right here, me, right here, this guy right here, Ridley Scott. I love you. Please let me get a face hugger on my face, please.
Yeah. I mean, for a movie that for me had more or less non-existent character development, aside from what Rain and Andy had in their dynamic, and Rain realizing that actually this is someone that she maybe being with this person is more important than getting to the place, which I think is emotionally where she gets to at the end of Romulus, right? Aside from all that, I think Eileen Wu stood out as far as just having that presence, right? I agree.
Let's wrap this up, fellas. Overall impressions, final thoughts, final statements of Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez. Ruben.
It's like I say, I think it's a movie that's not necessarily a movie, just a movie to have fun. It's those kind of movies that I remember was growing up that I watched Sunday evening just to enjoy. The difference is that we're telling a story. It's important for movie history because Alien is probably the mother of all aliens movies about something is attacking space, and you have to respect that.
It's that mother allegory. It keeps coming back, doesn't it?
Yeah, but in terms of respect something, you don't have to copy everything. And I think that takes away if you want to create something new. I think it's a movie that is fun. It's not a necessary movie. I think it's a movie that is just for a generation, probably trying to build something new from this. Probably they want to attract different audience. Probably they're planning to launch a full 10 DVD pack. I don't know. But I think it's a movie that
I mean, I'm gonna buy it, but I'm not gonna be happy about it. Go ahead.
I'm gonna pay crying probably. But like I said, it's not a movie that if we didn't have this movie, we would be okay. But anyway,
okay.
Is that a pro or a con? I don't know. I don't know how to take that.
No, but the thing is, when you make a movie that's just fun, entertaining, and builds on CGI and blood and acid and dying and everything that we know that aliens can bring, it's okay. That's fun because
you're gonna have a good time. Turn off your brain, have a good time. It's
like watching a zombie movie, even if it's a bad movie.
Oh yeah.
If you like zombies, you're gonna have fun.
You can have fun. Yeah, have a good. You like aliens, you can have a good time.
I like it. I love the hand and mouse and cat and mouse persecution. That they're just escaping. I like that. I have fun and enjoy it. That's it. It's just a movie to have fun. It's not a movie to sit down and criticize or anything.
Okay, fair enough. David, final thoughts.
I think when you think about the Alien franchise and what people might take away from Romulus, you got to think about it in the context of what if we had this exact same movie, maybe slightly different looking alien, facehuggers were a little bit different, score was a little different with a different name, would it have been made, right? Would an original concept like that have been made just for a down and dirty haunted house thriller in space in the year of our Lord 2024? Maybe what this movie needed to even get made and get Fede Alvarez's stamp on this franchise was the backing of Ridley Scott, of Scott Free Productions, and of the Alien name, right? And I think that's just where we are as far as our IP-obsessed Hollywood these days. For me personally, I think of the Alien movies as sci-fi first over horror. So it might explain a lot where I'm coming from, that Romulus leans very heavily into horror, and that to me leaves me a little hungrier of of what Scott was going for with Prometheus and Covenant, which is more of the cerebral, big story ideas to put the original movies of Alien, Aliens, even Alien 3 in a new light, right? Alien
It was
Romulus,
more of a lore dump than
exactly.
anything.
Yeah. The fact that Alien Romulus is lovingly and devotedly more horror than sci-fi, that's going to work for a lot of people. It has. It's made a lot of money. I'm not going to take that away from them. It didn't for me. I look forward to when Disney realizes they made it. This was enough of a hopefully box office surprise that they'll call up Sir Ridley and say, "Hey, you want to finish your trilogy?" That's my hope.
Yeah,
No.
but think about the vision. Now we have Disney with a vision that we didn't have Fox before. The vision that Fox had is way different than Disney has for their products. Think about that. That's a reason why they start with a younger generation of people to tell an alien a mature story. And we just need to sit and wait what's next, because
Yep.
I don't think this is gonna end with this.
Yeah.
So
Even more because the movie was a success. It made money.
Yep.
And you have this young, beautiful actress that can lead anything, and she has done it before. And let's just sit and wait. I hope it gets better. I hope Ridley Scott get back to and finish everything. I don't know. He's 80 something, but he never stopped.
Well, it's like Ridley. Okay, where are you going? It's almost like George R.R. Martin. It's like, tell us where you want to go, just in case you don't make it, like so we can get there. You know, like it's just let us know, okay? What are you trying to go with here? All right, so let's go with on that thread. If there was another movie that came out after this, what is this? Another movie that happens between Aliens that maybe connects the thing, or like maybe it's like a proto to Aliens of like, hey, this is what the colony was like before shit went awry. Would you be interested in another movie in this franchise? And if so, what would you like to see in another establishment in this one?
For me,
A lot of head shaking already, but go ahead, Ruben.
Yeah.
because for me, like I say, this movie, when you tell a story in Prometheus and Covenant, it's after everything, or before everything. So before everything gets to the first alien, and then you just jump alien, and then you put something in the middle. What would you do next?
Yeah.
You're gonna put something between 3 and 4. You're gonna bring back ABP. Like, what else?
Can we
What
remake
other-
3? We can arguably remake 3 if you wanted to. I mean, remake Resurrection. Why not?
Probably, or the spin-off.
Let's just touch up the ones we weren't happy with.
Yeah, or the spin-off, or just like tell a story outside this universe.
Oh my god,
Because I'm
two roommates, a xenomorph and an android living together. Like, I would love to
Let's
see
go.
that.
Xenomorph and android walk into a space bar.
You know what? Sci-fi comedy. That's what this thing needs. It's all sci-fi horror. We need a sci-fi comedy.
Or just alien in a prison time.
Yeah.
Think about
Well,
it.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny that you ask what I like out of the next one. I mean, there's a reason I write about what creators do, and that's because I'm not that much of a creative mind myself when it comes to this stuff. But I would just like to take it in an unpredictable direction. Come up with a pitch that you can convince the Disney overlords is worth backing with their money, and
Blessings be upon them. Profits be upon them. Go ahead.
and some it's just taken in a new direction, whether it's more cerebral, whether it's a different kind of environment, different kind of alien. Let's see what they can do different. That being said, we're not going to have to wait very long, right? Because Noah Hawley's TV show is coming out, next year?
Yeah.
His prequel series for Alien Earth. So,
Yeah.
we're not going to have to wait very long.
Yes.
And,
No?
and trust me, and I'm anxious about that. But we'll see what happens, right? But
It's
that's
like they're doing.
again.
It's not probably it's gonna hurt, but probably you take Ridley Scott out of the equation. Like the whole idea, the whole approval people wants to have with Ridley Scott. I know you created everything. I know you are the father of this, but what if we take him out of the equation and we bring something fresh?
Like we
Like,
pulled
no
George
idea.
Lucas out of Star Wars, and then we started adding some.
And we had
Mhm.
the Mandalorian, and we had so many great.
Rogue One, like you said before. Like we got
Exactly.
Rogue One as soon as we got George out of the equation. Like, I thank you for what you did. Let me just put you.
I
over
mean,
here.
there is the xenomorph-sized elephant in the room, and that this series that from the beginning since 1977, 40 some year, 50, almost nearly 50 years now, has been about allegories of motherhood and maternity and those roles and what it means in Hollywood and these environments in this world. We have yet to have a female director direct one of these.
Yeah.
So why not?
Cool.
Let's do that next. Let's see what that can look like.
Can't
Well,
hurt.
Catherine Bigelow's Alien? I don't know.
Hell yes, Catherine Bigelow's Alien. Get her in here.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so we all agree that the next segment should be a android xenomorph buddy cop film. Okay, so and this is how we want to wrap up Critic Box. I want to personally thank very much Ruben Peralta, David Lynch. How can we find you guys? If you Critic Boxers out there enjoyed what you watch, here's how you can find Ruben Peralta. Ruben?
My nickname is Cocalegas. It means popcorn in my country, the American Republic. It's Cocalekas, Cocalegas. That you can find me. That's my website. That's my Instagram. That's my Twitter. That's everything for me.
Wonderful. David Lynch. I mean, everybody knows how to find you, right?
Pretty easy.
Just at Twin Peaks. Go ahead.
You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, as on the handle at Real David Lynch. Promise that the only reason that my handle is that is because at David Lynch was actually taken already. So at Real David Lynch, or all my or my writing for on movies, the latest movie coverage at kens5.com/screentest.
Oh, it's fantastic. All right, this is David Lynch, Ruben Peralta. I'm Jarrod Clegg. This has been Critic Box as we discuss critic-to-critic discussions of Alien Romulus. Let us know what you think. Obviously, do the like, subscribes, all that jazz, but comment in the section. What did you feel about? What parts do you agree with us? What part you disagree? What part you think we forgot to mention or talk about? Because we did not talk about the 7 foot tall white basketball player that keeps showing up at the end of these movies. We did not even talk about that because it was just okay, cut, remove. Didn't need that. Didn't need I'm a 7 foot tall white guy walking around now. Like, okay, that's great. He got sucked out. So anyways, thank you for watching as we did a critic to critic discussion of Alien Romulus. Tune in for more here on Critic Box.